and welcome to the third and final part of this year's Whiskumentary about whiskey tasting competitions on the Nestle-sponsored Whiskey Tangent podcast. I'm Scott.
I'm Ed.
And in this episode, called unsurprisingly The Finish, we'll be wrapping up our discussion about tasting competitions by putting ourselves into the very shoes of whiskey judges by blindly tasting a flight of whiskeys, competition style, in order to experience for ourselves how difficult a task it really is.
Yep.
And then we'll give our final thoughts on the topic as a whole. And joining us on our tasting panel today, our longtime whiskey buddy, our first jacket recipient, and king of the Pineys, Gabe, the Whiskey Sherpa.
Hello, everybody. I'm giving myself a double gold for being here.
But before we embark on this last leg or tongue of our journey, Ed's going to help clean our palates by providing us with a brief recap of what we tasted last week in part 2.
Right. So last week, we interviewed Seth Benheim, a distiller, founder of Infused Spirits and Broken Barrel Whiskey, and he talked about what it's like to join these competitions. We also talked to a judge for 2 competitions, the John Barleycorn Awards and the Ascot Awards. Good friend of the podcast from Grayson Whiskey, Nico Martini. Now, also, we had some drop-ins from our interview from part 1 with Christopher Davies about running these types of competitions and what goes into that and the awards and so forth. And then we talked about how they fuel the secondary market. We asked the question of whether it's a marketing tool for the distillers or a money grab for the competitions. Do the competitions really matter? It's all subjective anyway. Are there too many competitions awards? Is there customer confusion involved in what the awards really mean? Nico even said maybe there's not enough.
Right.
And then we had a quick taste with the Russell Reserve Single Barrel Rye because it had done strikingly different at several competitions, getting a double gold in one and all the way down, I think, to a bronze in another, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to see, was there enough fluidity of the flavor profile of that spirit to justify the jump in scoring?
Right. So we talked a lot in the past 2 episodes about competitions, but we really didn't talk all that much about tasting itself. Well, we all know that taste is subjective.
Right.
It's a product of our genes, experience, age, our emotional state, what we've eaten or drank directly beforehand, et cetera, et cetera. With whiskey particularly, I think we've all had experiences where we liked a whiskey, tried it again years later, and then didn't care for it, or the opposite happened.
Right, exactly. So, we found that during our Whiskey Madness, which comes every March, when you're tasting a lot of things side by side. And we've had some of my favorites that just didn't do well that particular day. Was it a bad bottle? Was it because our palate was a little fried out because we had done 5 or 6 already? And that's what we're going to find out today. That's one of our goals of our last episode, is to approach the tasting and kind of learn what it's like to be a judge.
Right. So we're also sensitive to price and brand bias. Like if something's expensive, we automatically expect it to taste better.
Right. We want it to.
Yeah. And if we like a particular brand, we might be more willing to accept something new from that brand, even perhaps if it's not as good as we think it should be.
Right.
Now, can I bring up a point from last week's number 2 episode?
Yeah.
These judges that would taste these whiskeys, if they're not swallowing, you're only possibly getting 2/3 of the experience. I don't know if you really brought that up in that last episode, but
no.
How do you feel about that?
Right. So if you're not swallowing it, it doesn't get into your throat. And how can you really judge the finish of a whiskey if you haven't swallowed it?
Right.
Is that your point?
Yeah.
Do you think they would spit most of it out, but save a little bit? Mouthwash, you always spit the mouthwash out, but there's a little bit
left and you swallow that.
Yeah. You'd I kind of want it in the back of my throat. I don't want to do the whole shot of mouthwash.
Maybe it could be.
Yeah. It's all part of the experience. And I think you might be missing out if you don't get at least a little bit of that Kentucky hug.
Yeah. It's a
good point.
It's certainly effect. But even Nico said, I'm like, we asked him specifically, do you swallow or spit? And he's like, depends on how good it is. So that is an interesting point. Are you getting the full flavor profile of a whiskey by spitting? I don't know.
And I do agree with you also on that last point about having too many tastes in one night can mess up your palate. And plus, by 2 or 3 in, if you had a good, nice, sip of something, you're definitely going to be altered. Your consciousness and your
that's true.
So
there is something to be said for spitting also, so that you
right.
Because if you're kind of inebriated, your palate's going to change, and that's not really fair to people that are relying on the judge to approach each whiskey with a fresh view.
Sure.
I will say this also: if you're doing a flight of 5 whiskeys and you're doing them within 10 minutes, you're not going to be drunk at all. You might be drunk in 25 minutes, but if you drink them all before it hits you, but then you're wondering, am I frying my palate up because I'm hitting it with so much whiskey in a row.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is what we're doing this for.
Yeah.
What are the obstacles or components that go into tasting that the judges have to overcome to give their best opinion of the spirits that they've been asked to judge?
Yeah. So I talked about our emotional state. So I'm going to do right before we do this tasting, I'm going to get us all angry. So to highlight the discrepancy about what we were just talking about, there are a few whiskeys that I noticed had won awards this year that Ed and I tasted either on or off the podcast, and maybe Gabe has as well, that were just either okay, not really our thing, or we outright hated them. Okay. But they won awards.
Okay.
So from the mildly puzzling to the outright mind-blowing.
Okay.
Here we go. From the International Whiskey Competition, their best American whiskey, their top prize in all categories. First place, W.L. Weller Special Reserve.
Yeah.
Just their basic one. Won
Right.
their entire competition.
Right. It's probably the Weller I've drank the most of in my life because it's the easiest to find and it's the cheapest.
Right. It's not terrible. There's nothing wrong with
it's
it.
fine. But I literally had a bottle next to my microwave for 3 months.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I feel like having it. Now, if you told me the Antique 107, it's my personal favorite, but
Yeah, I
that
believe
blows the special reserve. Did they not send the special? I mean, it's just very bizarre to me. Good point.
It is. So the full proof, I think, did win the higher proof bourbon category, but the special reserve beat it in the final tallying.
The base expression.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'll say this to you. It's kind of a lower proof.
Yeah.
And, the international folks, they tend to like to live around that 80 to 85. Maybe something a little lower proof appealed to their flavor profile.
Right.
What was the competition? An international one?
International Whiskey Competition.
And how many judges were sitting on the panel?
That I don't know.
Okay. I mean, and they're getting their composite overall average to.
They are. So this was a point rated one, and it just had the highest points, and that's why it won.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to factor that in as well, I believe,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So the New York International Spirits Competition, 2 that won double gold and 2 that won gold. So the double gold winners were the Balcones Texas Blue Corn Bourbon.
That people love that.
People love it, but we did not.
We did not like it at all.
And the Glendalough Double Barrel Irish Whiskey was the only Irish whiskey that we didn't like on our Irish Fest episode this summer that Gabe was actually here for.
Yes, didn't like it.
No, it was the one we were like,
It was close to a pour out for me.
It tastes like cardboard.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And then the gold ones were Dad's Hat Rye. There's the regular.
We don't care for the vinyl leathery finish to the Dad hats.
It's super young and super vinyl-y. And the other one that was weird, the Jim Beam Black Label won a gold at the New York International Spirits.
I mean, all tastes are subjective. I mean, it's not a bad whiskey, but it's not. Maybe internationally something pops up in it.
That's a good point, Gabe. But remember, Scott, that's the one they use for the Legion, right? And the red wine.
Oh, right.
So it is definitely a step up from the white label, but is it a gold? We've never tasted it.
No, I don't think I ever have.
We've never sat down and I said, maybe, you know what? Maybe we had a surprise quick taste one time on the black label. You can make a note of that.
Yeah. So the last competition that I was able to find some weird ones, San Francisco, you won't be surprised because they give so many awards away. Right. For double gold, the Woodford Reserve Double Oaked was one that we liked, and then we tasted it again and we didn't like it that much.
All right.
One double gold.
I've had it since and I liked it again.
Isn't that weird? See? Yeah. That's weird.
I mean, but see, when you're double oaking something, I think that definitely changes by batch, because each barrel's got its own thing to it, like I can see when you're double oaking something, there's more pliability in the flavor.
Yeah. Jim Beam White Label, one double gold.
The South Campton
Come
Open.
on, man. Well, first of all, why would they even put that up?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, they're doing this blind, aren't they?
They are.
So, I mean, I guess you're at the mercy of these judges.
Right.
I mean,
I'm not saying that anything is rigged or anything like that. I'm just saying this is what the outcome was.
I mean, at any given moment, if you're doing it blind, you're like, wow, this is something about this is really good.
I hope that whole table of judges felt terrible about themselves.
Right when they got the results back and they saw, it's like, oh, shit.
I hope like 2 days later, the guy's wife's like, honey, what's wrong? Honey, come to bed. I can't come to bed right now.
Well, those are the judges in the San Francisco. They had the fish at the Fisherman's Award before.
Right, so
their taste was a bit skewed and they got food poisoning.
Yeah, he's like, I've done a terrible thing, honey. I've just done a terrible thing. I've unleashed another generation of white label to the world.
So the Pike Creek 10-year Canadian rum finish that we tried and hated, that won a double gold.
Maybe they're better now.
Maybe.
We drank that probably 3 years ago.
We did. So the last double gold, the Bernheim Wheat Whiskey.
I mean, that's famous, though.
It's double gold.
People love it.
They do. We didn't.
We didn't love it. It has a very distinctive finish that is shared by the Woodford wheat whiskey. It's a very pungent, sour finish.
Yeah, I wasn't overly impressed with that one either.
Yeah.
I remember it not being like all that great.
All right, so two more. One won a gold and one won a silver. The James E. Pepper Bourbon won a gold at the San Francisco World Series competition.
I'll let you guys go.
Ed, would you like to say something?
I mean, I know they were sourcing it back then. I'm going to assume that it's possible that they have a different source for this bourbon now.
Could be.
It was the first pour out on the podcast for me.
Right.
Scott, did you get your drain fixed after you poured that out?
I did get a new drain.
It ate right through. Like,
Were your neighbors below you upset that it ate through the floor like acids from Alien?
yeah, alien blood.
Game over, man. Game over.
They're all over the room, man.
How can they be inside the line?
So the last one that won a silver, mind you, but the Isaac Bowman port finish, which we absolutely loathed. Like, it was awful.
It was worse than the bourbon by James E. Pepper, I would say, to us. And yet, we were probably most disappointed because we were so excited to drink it.
Yeah.
And what did it get, a silver? Well, we know a silver is like getting a C.
It got a silver, yeah.
So it got a C, which means probably one guy's like, this is really good. Another guy's like, yeah, it's not that good.
Yeah.
Let me ask one question. When you know something is rated by other people very highly, do you think you get your anticipations up only to get like disappointed?
Sure.
Right, which is why I think an interesting story is one time someone gave me a drink sight unseen that I didn't know what it was. Because I asked them, said, hey, I know you got a lot of good whiskeys. Give me something that I've never had before that you think is special. And I went to the bathroom. I came back. There was a glass sitting there and I drank it and everyone was looking at me. And it was one of the best whiskeys I've ever drank. And it turned out being the Boot Hill by Heaven's Door, finished in the Japanese
Mizunara.
Mizunara,
Yeah.
okay.
It's like 23 years old and it's like a $700 bottle. Okay. And it was just great when I said, wow, what is this? This is outstanding. I had no idea it was something like that. I'm thinking it's something normal, like a 12-year Knob Creek or whatever.
And they were going to, ha ha, it's Maker's Mark.
Right. I was like, this is amazing. And they all like nodded and turned out to be amazing. Scott did it just this 2 days ago.
Oh, I did, yeah.
So to play around, Anders, who's such a whimsical lad, he, I said I wanted a Baker's, and he goes, how about a Biker's? And I said, what's that? He goes, that's half Booker's and half Baker's. And I go, oh shit, let's do that. So we did it. Scott came in and I gave him a little bit of it. And I go, there's no way you can guess what this is because I'm thinking it doesn't even exist. It's a made up drink.
Yeah. I'm tasting it and I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, it's got a little bit of cherry on it, definitely. And it's got like that peanutty kind of flavor. It must be a Jim Beam product. Is it one of the Knob Creek, like 12-year or 15-year or something like that?
Yeah, we said, oh my God, no, but you're in the ballpark. Then he goes, what is it, Baker's? I'm like, shit, yes, it is Baker's. I'm like,
half Baker's. Yeah.
But I mean, remember, we gave it to him in a room with 200 whiskeys.
Yeah.
And so the fact that his pal was able to go right to the mash bill of that distillery, it's a validation for your palate. And that's why, this is why Scott and I feel like we're surprised that none of the tasting competitions have come to us to be judges yet. I mean,
maybe they will now.
Yeah, maybe.
It was a half Baker's, half Booker's. It was a Boker's.
Yeah,
it was a Biker's.
Boker's might be good too.
Boker's, yeah.
We'll have to talk about that.
It's the kind of bitters.
Yeah.
All right. So the main event that we're doing here after that, the lively discussion, this is called the Whiskey Tangent OCHO Awards. Welcome to the first and probably last Whiskey Tangent OCHO Awards. We're really going to get drunk. So we've tried to replicate how whiskey tasting competitions try to mitigate all those inherent biases that we talked about. Dozens of judges and having them agree, not knowing what you're tasting, and having some kind of point system to standardize what's good and what's bad.
Right. Let me do it really quick. So
go ahead.
To start off with, each of us brought 3 bottles of bourbon or rye.
That
was the criteria.
Yeah.
So there's 9 bottles in play. Then what do we do?
So I'm going to tell what the 9 bottles are.
Okay.
Adirondack High Rye Bourbon, which didn't win any awards this year. Barrell Dovetail, which won double gold at the San Francisco. Blue Note Juke Joint Uncut, which we tasted on part 1, which won double platinum at Ascot, a silver at San Francisco, and a silver at the SIP. Larceny Barrel Proof, the B522, which won double platinum at the John Barleycorn Awards. Minor Case Sherry Cask Rye, which won double gold at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition and platinum at the Ascot Awards.
Nice.
Old Ezra's 7-year bourbon, which won double gold, also at San Francisco. Penelope Barrel Proof, which won double platinum at Ascot and a gold at San Francisco. Sazerac Rye, which won a silver at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. And Stellum Serpens Rye, which hasn't won anything yet.
Those are the 9 bottles we have to deal with, but we're only going to drink 5. Scott, tell them why.
Yeah, so we only have 15 neat glasses, so 3 times 5 is 15.
You thought that 9 samples might be a little much.
Yes,
Scott.
that too.
That would be because you want us to taste these twice, so that would be.
So see, I don't have to drive, so it's fine.
That would be
for
18
me.
ounces of whiskey, which is over half a bottle.
Yeah, okay, so here's what we did. I poured equal amounts into plain glass wine bottles and labeled them A through I, jotting down which whiskey went into which bottle. Mixed them up. Ed came in. He chose 5. Then Gabe put them in order from 1 to 5, and then I poured them out in our neat glasses covered with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the scenario that I've created in my mind here is that these are the 5 whiskeys that have made it to the final tasting panel. We are that panel. We have 3 minutes to give a score for the nose, the palate, the finish on a point scale that adds up to 100. So 20 for the nose, 50 for the palate, 30 for the finish. We'll report those scores and move on to the next whiskey.
Okay. It's really hard to do.
Oh, I know. That's
because what if like you give this one like a 98, but the next one's even better? So
yeah, so you got to think about that.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to set my timer for 3 minutes. We'll taste the first one, and we can talk about it as we're tasting it.
3 minutes seems like a long time.
It does seem like a long time, but I don't think it actually is.
All right, we'll see. If the first one's too long, we're going to drop this to 2 minutes.
Well, I'll edit it so that it's
right.
It's not boring for everybody at home.
That we'll have 3 minutes. Don't be surprised if each of these aren't 3 minutes for you.
Yeah.
Cut the dead time. All
Actually, be happy that it's not 3 minutes for you. So we are going to do a second flight of these in a different order, and I'll explain that after we taste these 5.
Yeah. All right. So here we go.
All right. So
First one.
Timer has started. Number 1.
Nose has a bit of peanut, bit of caramel.
Oh, does it? Got like a fruity note.
Are we supposed to talk to each other
Yeah,
about this?
we can talk to each other.
Okay.
It's fine. Otherwise, it's just dead air.
I guess we have to talk.
Yeah, there is a floral element there in the nose as well.
Floral. Okay.
Are we tasting too?
Ooh,
or?
there's a yeah. You can nose
It's your
taste.
3 minutes, Gabe. Do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Hold your hand? Drink whiskey.
Oh my god. Wow. So belligerent.
I'm ignoring Ed. It's a bit of a bite there on the initial tasting. It's got a bit of a linger. It's not bad.
Is it wrong to put a
Oaky.
little pad and paper here?
Well, you got your phone. You can do a note on your phone.
yes, fine. Shame me for the whole world that I forgot that I had a phone. We used to have cute little like reporter pads.
We
here.
did. I know. I stopped
wasting
doing that.
time.
No. We had 2 minutes. You can drop some distilled water in it if you want. I don't know if competitions allow you to do that or not.
I don't think we should do that.
You don't want to do that?
All right, we'll agree to do it.
I already did
Because
it.
Gabe's already doing
They
it.
already did it, so now we have to.
It's got a floral on the finish as well, and the tasting. Yeah, it's like a hot. It's a hot flower.
So like an old 60s band. Hot Flower opening up for Cream at Altamont before the riots.
It's funny you said cream because putting a little bit of water on it opened up a little more vanilla.
It's pretty hot on the taste, like you said.
It is.
I didn't get much on the nose. The finish is nice, though. It's nice and spicy.
It's lingering, that's for sure.
We got 1 minute.
So do you want us to text us? Because once someone says the number, could it not influence everybody else?
Maybe not.
I'm saying, I'm ready to say an 88 and Gabe goes 95. I'm like,
No. Don't let that ruin you. And in order to mitigate that, we'll go in a different order each time. How about that?
I have a bug in mine.
Do you have a gnat? Did it affect the taste?
Ooh.
Ooh, that's a big one. Wow. Sorry.
Well, there's probably no germs on it.
No, probably not.
It's a high proof gnat.
Pickled.
It's pickled now.
Are we giving the total overall score, or are we doing doing?
No, just do nose, palate, and finish, and I have a spreadsheet here. It'll total up later. Okay, that was it. That's the 3 minutes. So I think we'll go with Gabe first. On a 20-point scale, give this a rating for the nose.
Well, I'll go 17.
17.
Nice floral and woody.
Yeah. So how about the palate?
Palate, I'll give a
50. Yeah.
I'll go a 42 on the palate.
And the finish up to 30.
It's holding on good. I'll give it a 26.
26. Okay. Ed, how about you?
15 on the nose. I'm going to go with 46 on the palate and a 27 on the finish.
27 on the finish. Okay. I'm going to give it probably 14 for the nose. I really didn't get a lot. Palate, it's nice and rich and spicy. It's high proof. You can really tell that.
Yeah.
I'm going to give that a 44. And the finish, I really enjoyed. I think that's also a 27 for me. Really like that. Okay, so that's whiskey 1. You don't have to finish it unless, Ed,
Right, so
you did.
So do you have a total for that too?
We can do the total.
Okay, all right, that'll be the secret. Like, let's people do math at home. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so we need to. We never got the crackers out.
Oh, shit.
I'll grab them.
Okay.
There's 3 crackers sitting right here.
Good one. That's good.
Thank you. Oh, 1 saltine. You're very generous. Thank you.
Well, how many do you want, Gabe? It's not a fucking buffet.
I'm anti-Ritz.
Young Frankenstein, remember?
Oh, Young Frankenstein. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh shit!
All right. No, don't get the pickle. Oh,
Oh, no. You're going to ruin
that's so salty.
Oh, my God. Now we're going to have to wait 20 minutes so your palate clears.
When I was in Estonia
Oh,
at a vodka tasting, they served us chopped up pieces of dill pickle to do between the vodkas. Now I don't know if that works as well for whiskey, but
interesting.
they said nothing resets your palate more than a dill pickle, followed by a cracker and some water.
Explain.
I don't know why, but I don't speak Estonian. But in between each person, there was a plate of pickles. And that's what we ate between.
All right.
Wow.
All right. So whiskey number 2. Timer has set. We have 3 minutes, gentlemen. Well, this one's more caramely.
No, I'm not getting as much on this nose.
It's still pretty light, but I got kind of caramel immediately.
I'm getting a lot more flavors on this one than I did on the first one.
If I'm getting anything on the nose, it's a bit of a caramel. It's a basic bourbon taste.
Yeah, I'd agree. Vanilla.
A bit more smooth than the first one. Very, it's easy drinking.
Yeah. It's a nice nose if it's not very expressive.
The finish is a bit thin. Seems to drop off the cliff pretty quickly.
Oh, that had an interesting transition from the palate to the finish. Oh, I don't think I like the finish, actually.
Having just said that it drops off quickly, it seems to have come back, and now it's low down in there lingering.
I
Surprisingly.
think the finish is very flavorful. It isn't nearly as hot as the last one,
It's not. No, that's true.
but the caramel and vanilla are exploding all over. It's got such candy notes going on.
Maybe it's that pickle. It's that pickle talking.
I'll tell you, a little bit of water brings up some burnt orange,
Yes.
citrusy.
Water helps it a bit. It is a very quick finish for me. Kind of drying.
Yeah, but I really like it.
Yeah.
You don't find it like coming back after a few seconds, though? I thought it was a quick finish too, but then now it does linger.
I see what you're
The
saying.
boomerang finish.
It's yeah.
I don't understand it.
It's hot. I get like a fruity sweetness, and then it just hits me with a lot of heat from out of nowhere, and then it fades really quickly.
It's so sweet, vanilla and caramel on the front of this, and yet it does finish with a little bit of spice and pepperiness.
Yeah, it does.
A little bit of a drying finish.
Stop talking.
It's not that strict of a time.
Oh, who's the school teacher here? Jesus.
You've never been in my class. I'm not that strict.
All right, so I'm going to go first this time, and then Ed, and then Gabe. All right, so on the nose, I think it was a little better than last time, so I'm going to give it a 15. The palate, I think I enjoyed the last one a little bit better. I'm going to give this a 42. And the finish, I also didn't like as much as the last one, 24. Go ahead, Ed.
The nose was better than the first one.
Okay.
For me. So I'm going to give this one a 17.
Okay.
On the palate, I like this one a lot. I'm going to give it a 47.
Okay.
I think the finish was subtle, but I also enjoyed it. I'm going to go 26.
Gabe?
What?
Wake up, bro.
Sorry. Yeah. Well,
What are you being a listener right now?
I'm kind of going opposite of Ed. I think the nose was very thin. I'm going to give that a 13. Nothing really jumped out. The palate, it was good. I'm going to go 43. And the finish, it dropped off, but then it came back a little bit. So
Right. A boomerang for you.
out of 30, I'll give it 24.
24. All right. So that's whiskey number 2 out of the way.
I'm ready for 3.
All right. Whiskey number 3. Timer is started.
The lid is off.
That nose.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's an expressive nose. That's what I'm looking for.
I'm getting a little bit of flour, but a little bit of sweet, creamy butter.
I'm getting a little dill. Oh, sweet creamy butter. That's an interesting nosing note, I guess.
Fresh churned. Like the over.
Do that hand motion again. Gabe's churning butter.
Oh, yeah. Talk to me in Amish.
Ooh, this is nice. I really like the smell of it.
Yeah, it's a sweet smell on the nose.
The nose is good. The palate is delicious.
Ooh.
Very smooth going down. No burn at all.
No.
Nice and creamy.
Yeah, because the first one was very hot, and the second one was very spicy. This one is very balanced. This is really, really nice.
It's like coming home when you're out shoveling snow all day and mom knows you've been working hard and she has a nice bowl of hot chicken soup waiting for you when you get in. That's how good this is.
This doesn't have an especially long finish, but it's medium and it just fades away so subtly and nicely. It's like, just have another sip.
Thank you, I will.
I had guesses of what the first two whiskeys were. I don't have a guess on this one.
I don't even think I want to put water in this. I think this is an all-day sipper. This is really nice.
I don't think you really need to. Maybe this is lower proof. Maybe it's not, but
could be.
It doesn't really need it.
But we're going to do water anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to do it anyway.
I already drank too much of it.
Did you?
Yeah.
It kind of killed, but not too much.
I mean, if I would have to guess, this is a rye.
You think?
Because I'm getting so much dill off of it.
I'm not getting any spice.
You know, you're right, though. You're not really getting a traditional rye spice on it, but I got a lot of like dill, floral, herbaceous notes to it. Yeah, we have 13 seconds, so we can evaluate. Are we getting quicker, or we just made a decision really fast on this one?
It's nice and smooth.
It's so smooth.
It's very lovely.
All right, Ed, what do you got for us?
On the nose, it was probably the best nose of the day so far.
Agreed.
I'm going to go with an 18.
18. Very nice.
Palate, 45. And on the finish, I'm going to go with a 26.
26. Okay, Gabe.
On the nose, I think I'll go... Jesus. Sorry, I caught my cord there.
Hello. Let me fix that for you.
Oh. Lower.
Just don't try to grab my cord, you freak.
My arms aren't that long.
All right.
Let's talking to Gabe. He's one grabbing cords out here.
Damn.
I'm going to go 18 on the nose.
18 on the nose.
It was not overbearing, not hot, but it was very sweet.
Yeah.
On the palate, I'm going to go 47. I really thought this was nice. It was smooth. Very little burn, and it just went down very, very sweet, calm.
Yeah. And
on the finish, it did drop off kind of quick, but I'll give it a 26. I still think it held on nicely, even though it was subtle. It overall was a very nice taste.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on the nose, 18. There's 18s across the board there. On the palate, I'm going to give it a 46. I really liked it. For the finish, I liked it almost as much as the first one, although the first one had a little bit more intensity, so I'm going to give it a 26. All right, so now let's clean our palates once again.
Yep.
Ed, have some pickles?
I did. But tell you right now, you should try it.
Well, do you have enough pickle?
There's 2 pickles in there. I got a pickle for each of you.
Oh, well, all right. Well, let's try that. I'll bring you one, Gabe.
All right.
I'll bring you my pickle.
Oh.
No, his pickle. You leave your pickle alone. So go pickle, cracker, water.
Would do like the Estonians do. I really do love pickles.
That's a good pickle.
The reason I like it is not real garlicky. I just want dill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The garlic, I think, would fuck up the palate right here.
Yeah, it probably would.
But wait to see how quick the pickle's gone, and it's like you have a brand new mouth.
No, there is very little garlic on these.
Right. You're not going to hear me say this too often, but Ed, you were right.
Write it down now, folks. 8:23.
Time is
Eastern Standard Time.
It's January 15th, 8:22 in the evening. I said that it was right.
Just hits your mouth and kind of like rejuvenates it. Cracker clears it. Water clears that. And all of a sudden you're ready to go. Brand new mouth.
All right. So, whiskey number 4. Clock has started.
Weird. It's like there's there, but I can't really get what.
Yeah, it's there, but it like kind of dissipates quickly.
Yeah, I'm swirling it down. See if I can.
Yeah. Cover and swirl again. Oh, yeah, I'm getting more now that I did that. You really do have to do that, though. Like, it wasn't really very expressive, even though it's been sitting in the knee glass for a long time.
I got some candy orange.
I'm getting, when you were kids, you would open up the little box of Nestle's Quik powder with the little metal round top.
Chocolate, you're saying?
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of...
I can kind of see what you mean there.
Am I being a little too specific?
No, I like it. Yeah, it has like a fake chocolatey kind of
Yeah, but that powder
scent to it.
Burps up at you and like, oh, well, I'll put this in milk. I'm just going to do a couple lines.
Did you do lines of Nestle Quik when you were a kid? Is that what happened to you? That's what's going on?
Yeah.
Don't act like you never done it.
Line of milk, line of Nestle Quik, line of milk.
We couldn't afford real milk. We had powdered milk, so I just kind of cut it.
Oh, like fentanyl?
Yeah,
in this story.
Wow.
I stole my dad's credit card. I was chopping it up on the kitchen counter.
Oh, shit. We have a minute and a half. I didn't even taste it yet.
All right, well.
Did I thank you guys for letting me come in tonight?
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, wow. That is really potent. The nose isn't, but the taste is. Woo!
A lot of black licorice on that one.
And the finish off a cliff. I think it ends abruptly.
Interesting. Mine's lingering.
Oh, let me try again.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's holding on too. It's hot. I mean, it's a good flavor, but it's a little bit of a blowtorch in the tongue.
This one, it's like a rapid burst of flavors.
Yes.
Right in the front. Like,
Yes.
it's so flavorful and powerful on your tongue.
Yeah, I see what you mean, though. So you're about to say that it's going to fade away real quickly.
And maybe that's just me reacting to how intense the beginning of the sip is. Because as soon as it hits your tongue, it's like a landing craft, like it hitting the beach. You're like, boom, flavors just swarm out all over you.
And the finish now, what I'm tasting is the heat lingers, but not necessarily flavors.
Yeah, like, boom, I just swallowed it.
Well, I put some water in it, and I'm going to taste it like that, too. And we have 2 seconds.
Oh, God.
Well, I'll give a little bit more. We were laughing about stupidity earlier.
We have a flag on the play. The play clock had not started.
Right, we're asking for exemption, time exemption.
We're asking for an extra 30 seconds.
The Norwegian judge is giving us a flag wave.
Oh, the Estonian judges.
Right, the Estonian judge is like, that's right.
He likes us, yes. They eat the pickles. All right, so we have 30 more seconds.
I'm getting a lot of like spicy,
Yes,
dark chocolate, like almost when you get one of those chocolate bars with the jalapeno flakes in it. Mm-hmm. It's holding
really
on that.
like the palate of this one.
Yeah, Gabe is really a fan of this one.
Yeah.
I'm getting a tiny bit of what you're getting on it. I'm getting a little bit of the chocolate.
And we're done.
And we're done. All right. So who went first last time? Ed?
Yeah, I think Gabe's first.
Yeah, Gabe's first now this time.
Okay, on the nose, was this the one I was? Yeah, but this we were talking about. I'm going to give it an 18 on the nose.
You have a stroke there, Gabe? He's all right. You all right?
All right.
There's 3 voices in my head, and they're all fighting to come out. Shut up! No, you shut up. The palate came up very hot, but in a good way, a good flavorful hot. I'll go 45.
Okay.
And the finish, I think Ed said it kind of dropped quick. I don't think it did so much. It wasn't lingering too long, so 26.
26 again.
25. I'll go with 25.
Oh, 25.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, no, it's all right.
Bet your number 2's out and erase that.
It's an Excel spreadsheet. It's literally the backspace.
Fuck your technology.
So the nose, it wasn't very expressive to me. A little bit more than the second one, though. So I'm going to give it a 16. The palate, I really enjoyed. It was a tiny bit hot. I'm going to give it a 45. And the finish was a little bit more heat than flavor. So I'm going to give that a 25.
The nose is a 17 for me. I really like this palate. It's my favorite so far. I'm giving it a 48.
Okay.
Wow.
And the finish is a 24.
24. Okay.
Well, thanks for being expressive on that.
That was,
No, you just came to the point. That's fine.
I was sitting here trying to remember all 3 numbers in my head for when it got called on. I was like a kid in class. Like I knew the answer and I just wanted to get called on so I could say it.
All right. Whiskey number 5. The last whiskey.
God.
So much sniffing.
Oh, God, that's a good whiskey. Whew.
You're not cutting it like fentanyl quick. Okay. All right.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's an interesting nose.
Sweet caramely nose.
That was Gabe's failed college band.
Sweet caramely nose.
Opening nowhere this weekend.
It was like emo dubstep.
Exactly. Like, boom, 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 boom. Sadness, sadness, sadness. Boom, boom.
Apparently, nobody wants to hear accordion in an emo band.
No. You were very avant-garde.
Gabe's crew's like, I got all his albums and he put them out, but then I really like the way he played that accordion.
Oh, shit.
Ooh, that's tasty.
It's hysterical. Ooh, I really like the nose. This may be my favorite nose so far.
The palate's nice. It's
Yeah.
got a nice Werther's butterscotch creaminess about it.
Man, I didn't even drink all of these, and I can really feel the alcohol hitting me just drinking it so fast in succession like this.
I know what you're talking about.
And you drank all of yours, every single drop of every single whiskey.
And I'm eyeing Gabe's a 1, 2, and 3 up as well.
And 4.
Okay, we have 48 seconds to make a determination. Oh, there's some cinnamon and baking spices on this one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, this is really good.
Yeah, let's try a little bit of water.
There's a lot of heat on the finish.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, it could be the way I swallowed it because I kept
it
a
is.
lot in my mouth.
It is. It's a hot finish.
I'm not getting that, really. Ooh, the water. Ooh, wow, what the water?
Ooh, the water. That's nice.
Don't make that sound.
The sound is the equivalent of saying moist.
And that marks the end of the tasting of whiskey number 5. I mean, I really like the nose. I'm going to give it an 18. The palate is delicious. I think this is my favorite of all of them. I'm going to give it a 47. And the finish, really like it. I think it's as good as the first one, and I'm going to give it a 27. That actually kind of high from what I said. But anyway, go ahead, Ed.
I'm going to go 17 on the nose.
17 on the
I
nose.
did like this palette.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 47.
47. Okay.
And the finish around a 26 for me.
Okay. Go ahead, Gabe.
The nose was a bit low. It wasn't terrible. Basic, caramels, vanillas. The palate really jumped out at me. You guys thought it was a bit hot. I didn't think it was so hot.
No, the finish we thought was really hot.
The finish was hot. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get to that in a second if you give me time.
Well, you didn't even give me the nose, bitch.
Oh, yeah, you want a number, don't you? I'll go 15 on the nose.
Okay.
But the palate, really nice. I'm going to give that a 48. I really thought that was a nice palate.
All right.
It had, and this is going to sound weird, but I'm not a big fan of white chocolate, but it had that same creaminess as like a white chocolate cookies and cream type bar.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like he's just trolling you, Scott.
I'm not a huge white chocolate fan
No,
either.
I'm not either, but I feel like I'm contradicting myself,
Scott-
but it
Scott
had that
refuses-
same taste about
Well,
it.
at least he didn't say it was a white chocolate made by Tim Burton.
Well, Scott refuses to acknowledge white chocolate as being an actual thing.
It's not chocolate. It's not chocolate.
All right, another time, another place.
Okay.
The finish was good. It didn't linger too long. It dropped off, but it was still had a bunch of heat at the end, and maybe that took away from some of it. So I think for the finish, I'll give it a 26.
26. Okay. So the winner of Flight 1 was number 5, the last one we did.
Wow.
90.33, our average scores.
Okay.
Number 3 was second with a 90 even. And then 4, 1, and 2, 87.67, 86, and 83.67. So no whiskey got under 80.
Oh, yeah, they shouldn't have.
Yeah, everything was between 80 and 92.
So
that was the entire range.
What's the lowest score?
Gabe gave number 2 an 80 total.
All right, what did I give it?
You gave it a 90.
And you know what? That's sort of surprising.
Well, I give it an 81. So this was the one I think we differed on the most. Ed really liked this one, and Gabe and I were just kind of so-so on it.
Right, so if there was 5 judges at this table, my score might very well get thrown out.
Right.
So
it might.
and that's something that Nico said, and that's something that Chris Davies said also, that
Yeah.
if you have 4 judges and 3 are 80, 81, 82, and you're 89, they throw yours out.
It's an outlier.
An outlier, right, exactly.
So what I want to do is taste them again in a different order and see if we come up with the same scores or at least similar scores.
All fair. We're not going to put you through that again.
No need for that.
So we're going to take a break for about 30 minutes. We're going to, sober up a little bit, eat some food, and let our palates relax. Come back with the results of our all fair tasting to compare to that, and we'll finish up then.
Right. Be right back. This is the intermission of the OCHO Awards. If you've turned us off by now, we totally get it, and we're not mad.
Welcome back to the Whiskey Tangent Podcast, and we're going to throw it back to Scott with the tabulations of both rounds and see where we ended up with the Ocho.
Yes, this was not easy. So, we drank a lot. We're a little extra right now, and we're going to do the news that you'll hear next week later. So, that should also be fun. Tune in for that.
I'm a professional podcaster, as always.
You're the worst of all of us. What are you talking about?
I'm here to serve.
Oh, Scotchy.
I'm here to serve the public.
All right. So when we last left you in Flight 1, the winning sequence was 5, 3, 4, 1, 2, which corresponded to the letters I, A, D, F, C. When we tasted Flight 2 and tabulated all the results, the winning sequence was C, F, A, I, D. Almost backwards.
It doesn't sound the same.
What do you account for that for?
I don't know. And that's exactly what I was trying to test, because the fact that when we taste whiskeys in succession, even if we're cleansing our palates,
Which we
we
were.
still have the memory of what we tasted. So that alone makes me think these competitions are just one-off expressions of what we're tasting at the moment. I'm not necessarily blaming them
Let's
for
go into the
anything.
stats a minute here. So which one won the first round? And what did I get?
I got 90.33,
And what did I get in the second round?
86.
That's quite a steep drop.
That's a huge drop, actually.
Isn't it?
It is.
So
Isn't that
I have a
crazy?
question. The
Yeah.
one that I picked, the second one that I picked.
Yeah, the one that had the most disparate, it was C. You gave it a 90 in the first round, and Gabe gave it an 80, and I gave it an 81 for a total score of 83.67. That was C.
Right.
It actually finished first in the second flight.
What did I give it the second time?
The second time you gave it an 89 was very consistent. Gabe was the most disparate when he gave it a 93, which was 13 points higher, and I gave it a 91, and it ended up with a score of 91.
That's a crazy.
which is the highest score overall.
So that's interesting that you two changed so much, because that was my biggest curious. Like, did you guys come with me or did I come back to you?
No, we came back to you, is what
That's what
we
I'm
did.
saying. Like, I'm asking, like,
I mean, is it something we were eating between rounds?
So I will tell you that C was the second one that we tasted in the first round, and it was the fourth one we tasted in the second round.
interesting. So pretty close.
Oh, yeah.
I was pretty close.
Oh, you were the most consistent with that particular whiskey.
How about me?
Well, let's just stay there. I was the most consistent. Just keep it there.
No, with that particular whiskey, you bitch. I'm going to add that. Oh, you bitch.
Little bit.
All right. So in alphabetical order, I will tell the folks the 5 whiskeys that were chosen at random from the 9 that we previously told them.
That should be fun.
So the only 5 that we were tasting were Barrel Dovetail, Blue Note Juke Joint Uncut,
Okay.
Larceny Barrel Proof B522,
Okay.
Penelope Barrel Proof,
All right.
and the Sazerac Rye. That was the 5. And now I'm going to reveal which whiskeys went with which letters, and in reversed order. D, that finished last in the second flight, third in the first flight, and last overall, 86.17, was the Larceny Barrel Proof B522.
What?
Amazing.
Wow.
And we love that.
Yes. Yes, we did.
We gushed over it.
Yeah. Well, okay.
In third place, a tie, 2 whiskeys. Those were letters C and F with a score of 87.33. Wow. C, the Penelope Barrel Proof, finished last in the first flight, but first in the second flight. And
Wow.
F, Blue Note Juke Joint Uncut, finished 4th in the first flight and 2nd in the second flight.
Yeah.
So the bronze was the Larceny, the silver was the Penelope and Blue Note because they tied. So the gold was the Barrel Dovetail.
Okay.
That's letter I. It finished first in the first flight, but 4th in the second flight.
That's unbelievable.
Killed the first flight.
Isn't it? And so that means that the winner of the OCHO Award on the Whiskey Tangent podcast
Unbelievable.
is the Sazerac Rye. With a score of 89.17. It finished second in the first flight and third in the second, but overall, it had the highest score.
Am I to guess that Sazerac's probably like the least expensive bottle we have?
$29.
In the 5?
Yep.
I paid $29.95.
It's unbelievable.
It's a wonderful little bottle.
That's an incredible outcome of this, and it just goes to show how difficult this really actually is. I mean, Ed was having a hard time. It's like, I'm having heartburn. I need to stop. Please stop recording. I need to get some water. It was like, have some water. It's like, I've had 7 glasses.
Seriously, I drank more water in the last 3 hours than I have in the last 3 days. But the point is this. It's like all those whiskeys he mentioned are good whiskeys.
Yes.
Which whiskey was the most consistent? The Sazerac Rye, right?
Well, yeah, it was the Sazerac because that ended up winning.
And that makes sense because it's kind of the least complex. It's delicious and sweet and simple, low proof, not a lot of burn to it, not a lot of finish to it. What's the finish on that?
So you had a 26, Gabe had a 26, and I had a 26 in the first round.
Right.
And then in the second round, a 25, a 26, and a 24.
Right.
That's pretty consistent.
Right. So
That's what this is fascinating,
Well,
actually.
so what did I score highest the first? What was it?
Did you-
Dovetail?
in the first flight?
Yeah.
You had 2 at 90. Dovetail and Penelope Barrel Proof.
Interesting, because
Yeah.
I have that at home and I don't dislike it, but I didn't gush over it.
Yeah, Gabe's highest, he scored 91 for the Sazerac Rye in the first round. And in the second round, his highest was the Penelope Barrel Proof.
Wow.
And then mine was, in the first round, the Dovetail. And then in the second round, it was the Penelope Barrel Proof.
Well, so if we learned anything from this competition, the Penelope barrel strength
It's really good.
held its own against Dovetail by Barrel.
Yeah.
The Larceny barrel proof, we probably got a good Penelope, and that's done pretty well at some of the competitions.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I think the surprise is Sazerac Rye, but
Absolutely.
But people have sweated on that for a long time, and it's been the Cadillac of cocktail speed racks everywhere, right?
Yeah, and I will say that among the 5, they're only 3 points total apart.
Yeah, they're all really close.
3 points
Once again, we brought good whiskeys to the show.
out of 100. That's crazy.
Yeah, so right. That's a great point, Scott. But here's a funny thing. I was leaving today and my daughter says, what can I drink if I want to drink later? I go, drink the Sazerac. It's the cheapest. It's sitting right there. I had a bottle right on the front.
I mean, for the money.
Yeah, because behind it I have 2 Penelopes are there, Stranahan's Blue Peak, the Rossville Union Cask Strength Rye.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, drink the Sazerac. It's $29.99. Get that one. I can buy another bottle of
I
that.
could buy
for-
another bottle, yeah.
Right. And yet here it won the whole show.
It did.
So it got the Ocho.
Yeah, it got the Ocho. So last thoughts of the entire Whiskumentary. Gabe, you've listened to the first two parts and you've, of course, taken part of this third part.
Yes.
What did you think previously, before you listened to this, about tasting competitions, and what do you think of them now?
Well, I mean, I listened to the first two, and I hear what you're saying about how you walk through the liquor store and you see like the little tag sticking on the neck of the bottle and what shows that what their awards are. And it does influence what your decision might be for that particular day you're walking through and what you want to buy. But tonight really was kind of surprising because like you said that it's a great mixer, but when you could find out that it stands alone as a straight or on the rocks, you just don't know what going blind, you surprise yourself.
Right, which is why Scott and me, but mostly Scott, says don't chase bottles. Like if your favorite bottle was 40 and now it's 65, 70, go get something else. There's other stuff to drink.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the fact that you can sit down and drink, a splash of Sazerac rye neat and enjoy it, and you have a $30 bottle, not as high proof, but the flavor profile evidently is so delicious that three pretty experienced drinkers were like, this is pretty damn good. While we're tasting all of the other home run hitters that we just brought up.
Yeah.
I think it says a lot for Sazerac rye and vampires everywhere.
Ed, final thoughts from you about the entire Whiskumentary.
I mean, I didn't know what to expect from this one.
Yeah, we were a little ambivalent about even doing it.
Yeah, it was like, is this going to work out well? And are we going to get what we want? And the reality is, I didn't talk to everybody I wanted to talk to.
No.
But we talked to enough people for me to get the flavor of what these things are about. And overall, I think they're a positive for the whiskey industry. None of the whiskeys that were here tonight that we tasted were terrible. I think if we had a terrible whiskey, we all would have identified it.
Yeah.
And this goes back to what I think both Nico and Seth talked about, how it'd be nice to have standardized numbered ratings.
Yeah.
More than double gold and platinum and all that. So if you had a 91 whiskey, you pretty much knew what that meant. Where if it's an 88, like, it's still a pretty good whiskey. An 82, it's, that depends on whether you like the flavor profile. A 95 is a home run. But that being said, I think there's something exciting about the competitions. Going in and getting a double platinum at the Ascots, or getting a double gold in San Francisco.
It's thrilling to win an award.
You get a double gold in San Francisco World Spirit Competition. You've made it. You've made it. People are like, whoa, look at this. This guy's got a double gold over here. Scott, what are your final thoughts, buddy?
I think it's amazing, and this was the outcome that I thought was going to happen, that when we tasted them in a different order, the same whiskeys, that we came out with a different outcome both times. And I think if we tasted it a third time, we'd come out with a third different outcome.
Though I have to say, I wonder what would happen if we did the 5 whiskeys and came back tomorrow at the same time and did 5 again.
Right.
Not right after them. So that's another question.
That is another question.
Right. So tune in next week when we're going to come. We're coming back here tomorrow. We're going to drink all 5 whiskeys again. No, I'm just kidding. We're not. Our palate was definitely altered after drinking 5 whiskeys. Well, 6 because we had a pregame.
Yeah.
To be honest, Scott, for a lot of these competitions, the judges are on their own with like 40 samples.
They are. We did like a San Francisco World Spirits competition where we're all in the same room tasting the same things. Yeah. But like what Nico was saying in part 2 was that he was at home by himself and he had 6 weeks to taste 50 different whiskeys.
Yeah.
That's a different environment.
Right.
Sure, that could alter your outcomes.
Spit. Yeah, I might spit if I'm doing 50 whiskeys.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if us picking Sazerac rye and Dovetail second, if that gets us the judging jobs we're looking for, or if they're like, these guys are crazy.
Well, I mean, I guess it means we're impartial because we had no idea what we were tasting. We tasted different things in different rounds.
Right.
I mean, Nico honestly said that it's really difficult to take something that's intrinsically subjective and make it objective. It's hard to do that.
Yeah.
But I think overall, these whiskey competitions are trying to do that.
Right. So I guess if you're looking at that wall of whiskey that we talk about and you see something with a double gold sticker on it, take a shot on it. It's not going to hurt you.
No, I totally agree. If it's not too expensive, it's in your price range and it won a double gold somewhere or a double platinum or a platinum or a gold or whatever it was.
Right.
Give it a try.
But just remember, the Juke joint from Blue Note was $35. It won a double gold.
Yeah.
The Sazerac just won the Ocho here at the Whiskey Tangent.
Shit, it's like $30 now.
So there's cheap whiskey out there too that drinks really nice. You don't have to break the bank to have a good experience.
You don't. And that's important now because people think bourbon, whiskey, rye is boutique. And in order to do a good one, you have to spend over like $200 and you don't.
No, not the case at all.
So to wrap up, I'd like to thank Christopher Davies from the Global Whiskey Challenge and all his insight on running competitions. We also want to thank Seth from Broken Barrel for coming on and being a great friend of the podcast, and also Nico for his tremendous insight to what it's like to judge these competitions.
Yes.
Thank Gabe for coming out tonight and helping us drink whiskey.
Yep.
So for the Whiskey Tangent Podcast, thanks very much for joining us for our 4th annual Whiskumentary. I'm Ed.
I'm Scott.
And I'm Gabe.
Cheers.
Later.